Hello everyone and welcome to Lick Library. My name is Lee Fuge, and in this video today we're going to be talking tone. We're going to be talking how to dial in a great classic rock guitar tone. So in this video we're going to be talking about the basics of getting a great rock tone with just a guitar, an amp and one pedal. There's not a lot you need to get this tone, so we're going to talk about how to get the most out of your gear to maximize your great rock tones. Some of the tones you can get with this kind of setup can verge on the heavier side of things depending on how much gain your amp and pedal have available, but we are going to be focusing mostly on classic rock style tones. So we're going to be talking about humbuckers and single coils in this video and the basics of the gear that we're going to need to make this work. So gear-wise, I'm using a very simple setup for this. Right now I'm playing a Les Paul style guitar which is loaded with two humbuckers, but I am going to be switching over to a single coil loaded Strat style guitar later on in the video. I'm using one amp for this, which is a Plexi style amp from a company called Cool Amplification. I've got this set on a low gain crunch sound. I've got the gain on the amp set to 12 o'clock, the bass is set to 12 o'clock, I've got the mid pushed to about 2 o'clock here because we really want that kind of mid pushed sound for classic rock. I've got the treble on 1 o'clock, the presence is also on 12 o'clock, and I do have the master volume on the amp set quite loud. It's set to just above 2 o'clock, and this is a 50 watt amp, but I am running this via the 2 Notes Torpedo Captor X, which is an IR loader, so I'm not getting any of the real volume in the room, but the amp is working hard. Now when it comes to classic rock sounds, we kind of want that pushed amp sound. The sag and the saturation you get from really driving a valve amp kind of makes that sound. Now understandably this is not a tone you can always get at home, so when you're dialing in these kind of tones at home you may need to push the gain a little bit more if you can't push the power tubes. But if you're playing live, you can definitely get that master volume opened up a little bit. And I'm using just a single pedal for this. I'm using the Boss SD1 Super Overdrive. I'm going to be using this for a couple of different things, which we'll talk about as we go through the video as well. So we're going to be talking about both humbuckers and single coils. So the first part of the video is going to be focusing on humbuckers, and then we're going to go on to single coils later on. If you want to skip ahead to that, you can scroll down to the description and hit the relevant timestamps, and it'll take you straight there. All right, so starting out with humbuckers. So a classic rock tone with humbuckers is quite easy to get because humbuckers are going to push a little more output into your amp anyway. So like I said, I've got the gain on the amp on about half. I'm not going to change the amp settings throughout this entire video. We will talk about some concepts you can tweak the amp to if you need to. So with the guitar going straight into the amp, straight away we do have a pretty good classic rock sound. So I've already told you the amp settings, but once again the bass is on 12 o'clock, the mid is on about 2 o'clock because we do like a bit more mid with a classic rock sound, and the treble is on 1 o'clock. If you're using darker sounding pickups, you can push that treble control a bit more. I also have a presence control on this amp which I've got set to midnight as well, and the gain is on halfway. And that sounds like this. So that is by no means a high gain sound, but there's plenty of grunt there with the bridge pickup. Now, using a classic rock style sound and a humbucker loaded guitar, we can get a lot of tones just from the guitar, and this is something that is very much overlooked with guitar players. So I'm using a single channel amp as well, which means when everything is set to 10, I'm just going to get the sound of the amp, which is that nice crunch. If you want something cleaner, you can back off the volume. Now, using the guitar to change the tones is something that's very much overlooked by a lot of players. So we can actually clean up that sound just by rolling those volume controls down to about 3. So what this is going to do is it's going to reduce the output level going to the amp, and it's going to give us a much cleaner sound. We can also use our pickup selection to great effect here as well. So if I'm playing a rock riff, I might want this to really kind of cut through, in which case I would use the bridge humbucker. This is also great for really aggressive sounding lead breaks. pickup is great for rhythm guitar playing when you're playing more open sounding chords. A great tip with this, with the classic rock sound, is just to dial back the volume slightly to about 7. It just takes the top edge off the gain. But then we can also use the neck pickup with the volume on full for some more rounded lead tones. If you find that your amp is sounding a bit too bright, you can either adjust the treble and the presence on the amp, or you can use the tone control on the guitar. Now this is great if you're into guitar players like Eric Clapton. If you take the neck pickup, for instance, and roll that tone pot all the way off, you get a very Eric Clapton Cream-esque tone. And that's all with the guitar. Now we can use pedals as well to sort of supplement the sound if we want. So I've got the Boss SD1 here on the desk in front of me, and there are two main uses for this with a single channel amp. So a great way to push humbuckers is to set the volume of the pedal all the way on full, and the gain of the pedal all the way on 0. What this is going to do is it's effectively going to turn the pedal into a boost. It's not going to add a ton of gain, but it's going to hit the front end of the amp a little bit harder and kind of break it up that little bit more. This is great as a lead boost. Now I've got the tone control set to midnight here. You can obviously control how bright or how dark you're boosting the amp by moving the tone control as well. So I'm going to play a little bit and then turn this on so you can hear the difference. The other way we can use the pedal is to actually set the level control about halfway and add some gain. So what this is going to do now is if we need more drive from the amp, if the amp doesn't have that much drive available, we can use the pedal to give us that drive. So here's how it sounds without the extra drive, and then I'm going to add that in. So we can add as much drive as we want. We can make that a lot brighter if we choose as well by cranking that tone control. Or we can make it darker by bringing the tone control down. Now we're going to talk about how to dial in a great classic rock sound with a single coil loaded guitar like a Strat. So the amp is going to remain completely unchanged. The first thing you can notice now is that the amp sound is a lot brighter because single coils will give you a much more prominent top end. They don't have as much lows as a humbucker. There are ways to get around this with different control settings on the guitar and using the overdrive pedal as well without tweaking the amp. So what we can do is we can tweak the amp if we want, but for this purpose I'm going to leave it the same. Now if I play this guitar, it's going to sound like this into the amp. So you can hear right away that's instantly brighter. I'm using just the bridge pickup on the Strat here for that. Now on a Strat we do have 5 different pickup selection options, but we're just going to talk about the bridge and the neck pickup because those are the most commonly used ones. So the bridge pickup is going to be the brightest one like you just heard. The neck pickup is a bit warmer, but it's still bright because it's a single coil. This is great for more bluesy kind of riffing. bridge pickup is better for more articulate stuff like lead picking and kind of stuff you really want to cut through. So because single coils have less output than humbuckers, the amp actually retains a slightly cleaner sound because these pickups aren't hitting the front end of the amp as hard as a humbucker guitar. That means we don't have to work as hard to clean the tone up, but we can still use the tone controls on a Strat to get different variations on the thickness of the sound. Now this guitar has just one tone control for all three pickups. Different Strats have different setups regarding this. But if I'm playing with a bridge pickup and I really want to fatten that up a bit, I can just take my tone control and set it to about 5, and that's just going to give me a bit of a warmer tone. I could even go quite extreme and go to the neck pickup and turn the tone all the way down to get into that Eric Clapton kind of vibe again. And that also works on the bridge pickup. It's always worth remembering we can massively alter the tone with just what we have available on the guitar. But now we're going to talk about that SD1 again. So I'm going to start off by taking the level all the way up and the gain all the way down once more. And we'll talk about using this as a boost. So with single coils, on the neck pickup, I'm going to be playing some bluesy riffs and I'm going to add a boost and it's going to sound like this. Now you will notice that was quite bright, so I can tame that with the tone control as well. So I'm going to back off that tone control now, all the way down, and I'm going to do the same thing, and this is going to warm up the boost sound. Now that was a bit more of an extreme cut there, but obviously you can set that to taste. We can also use this to add more gain like we did with humbuckers, but what this is going to do is this is going to bring in some noise. Single coil pickups do emit some noise when it comes to using high gain because they're not as noise repellent as humbuckers, so you will expect some kind of amp or background noise when you play with higher gain on a single coil guitar. Because that gain was actually quite bright, what I could do is I could back off that tone control once more, and that's going to give me a thicker gain sound, especially when I'm using that bridge single coil. So you can hear that both guitars react very different with the same amp and the same pedals, with the same settings. Now this is really cool because this allows you to see the difference between how different guitars will work in your setup when chasing these kind of tones. If you're looking for more of that Jimmy Page, Paul Kossoff kind of classic rock sound, you definitely want to go down the Les Paul route with the humbuckers. That's going to get you in that ballpark. But then if you're more into Hendrix, the Strat is the way to go, which is a much brighter, much snappier kind of sound. Thank you so much for watching this video on how to dial in a classic rock sound. I hope you found some of these tips useful. If you've got anything that you'd like to add and you have any tips to make your classic rock sounds stand out, throw them down below in the comments. I've intentionally kept the rig very simple for this without diving too deep into extra effects. Obviously, as you know, there's a huge array of effects out there and we could spend hours talking about different pedals, but the whole idea here is just to get a great sound with an amp, pedal and a guitar. So let me know how you got on with some of these tips and let me know if you have any tips to improve your classic rock sound. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for the Lick Library YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. There's a bunch of content out there for free that you can enjoy. And also if you're enjoying these tone style videos, let us know what genres and styles you want to see us make these kind of videos about. if you're looking to take your guitar playing to that next level, head on over to licklibrary.com, check out the lesson library over there. There's a huge array of stuff that will make you a better player today. Thanks so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys very soon.